He's got to sleep on that thing.
You could sleep on that thing.
It's actually the backboard they're bringing out of an ambulance.
That's the door Rose was on at the end of Titanic. Jack couldn't fit.
Something in the water taught me how to crawl. Something in the water taught me how to fall. Something in my blood starts to take.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Something in the Water. I am Sean Clark, here with my co-host, everybody's favorite uncle, Uncle Dave Griffin. And today we have one of my longtime best friends, Ken Herrin.
Long time, long lost.
Long lost.
Long time. One of my best friends, Sean Clark.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, he ain't lost, but we did have to get him all the way from Australia.
Yeah.
Austria. No, Australia.
There's no kangaroos in Austria.
Oh, yeah. He's from the kangaroo one.
Yeah, I'm from the one with the kangaroos.
Down under.
Well, you're actually from Brantley County.
From Brantley, Ware County, Brantley County. So, I guess, is that how you start? You just start talking about where you're from?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's an introduction.
So which one was first, Brantley or Ware?
Ware County. So,
She was born here?
yeah, the seas were angry that day. No.
Oh, I forgot you were from Ware County.
Yeah, so started out in Ware County, going to Wakeona. It was Brunswick, actually. Kindergarten, first grade in Brunswick.
Where are you from, dude? I thought we knew each other.
I know. So
I'm originally a Yankee.
Yeah, no, Brunswick, kindergarten, first grade, second through fifth was Wakeona, living in Jamestown in a house that's not there anymore, next to Jamestown Baptist Church. It's gone. Lived in San Diego for about 3 years, 6th, 7th, a little bit of 8th grade. Came back, went to Ware County for a few weeks, and then Brantley County. Finished up high school and everything in Brantley County. So me and
What
you
year
met
did you graduate?
91.
91.
So
And we probably met in
we met
92,
probably in 92, late 91,
What year did
92.
you graduate?
93.
Oh,
So-
okay, so you're the elder.
I'm the elder, a little bit. I'm not saying I'm the wiser. I'm just the elder.
Well, you taught me a bunch of stuff.
Man,
on
I think that goes both
Well, with
ways.
all that moving around, was your daddy in the service?
Well, he was, but he was out by about that time. So he did 8 years, and I think 76. I think he got out. So, and I was born in 73. So I was born in Naval Hospital in Charleston, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then a little bit of moving around, and like lived in Valdosta for a little while. I think I was like 4, living in Valdosta and Brunswick, and then that. So, then mom, dad split.
You were
up.
living in Valdosta in 77.
77-ish, because my brother Scott was born in Hayhira. So so that's why he was the big metropolis of Hayhira, Georgia.
That's when I was playing over there in Valdosta.
That probably
You was
put
a 4-year-old running around.
I wonder if that put my mom into labor. That might have done it.
Well, it depends on if they came out to the king of the road.
They probably did. They probably did.
Well, your daddy he's got one of the greatest names ever.
He did. He definitely did. So
Tennessee, wasn't it?
Tennessee. Yep. He was. And the story on that one was everybody always says the same thing. They says, "Is he from Tennessee? Did he go to Tennessee?" Well, it's like, no, he never been to Tennessee. He's a Blackshare, and they were all from Pierce County, Patterson area. And the doctor named him. The
doctor did.
The doctor delivered all aunts and uncles and everything from my grandparents, and they were sharecroppers, so they were from the poorest of the poor. And doctor always wanted to name somebody Tennessee, and they said, "Well, you name one up." So they named Dad Tennessee. That's literally all it is. The doctor named him.
Why did his parents allow the doctor to?
I think there was 5 of them. So said, "Well, you're doing such
Well,
a good job.
Like, we got more kids than names than we came up with.
Yeah, so they just said because he, I guess back in them
We're
days,
all out of the names we know.
Dad was born in '48, in South Georgia in '48. It'd have been everybody was close. So they said,
so the same doctor delivered all of his brothers and sisters.
Yep, one aunt. There's Mary Ann, Bill. I'm gonna miss one.
Marilyn.
Mary Ann. It feels like it's starting off like a Gilligan's Island thing. The skipper.
I figured that all been states. Here's Maryland.
Yeah.
And,
well, there was a Cleveland.
You got Vermont.
There was a Cleveland. So, and I don't know how Cleveland got his name, but yep. So
that doctor was just like,
yeah,
cigarettes and smoke in the office back in those days. They'd go,
"What's a good city?"
Spin the globe and go,
"Yep." Your name is Mozambique.
You're gonna have a hard time in life. It was a difficult delivery, so we're gonna call you Mozambique.
Yep,
we'll just call you Mose for sure.
We're gonna call you Mose.
Well, Mose would work. Yeah, in South Georgia.
That's it.
So when I met you, Ken, I just started playing guitar.
Yep.
And you were already playing bass. You started on guitar, though, right?
No, started on bass. Started on bass. Yeah, that was when I was 15. So I'm 49 now. With Toby Harris and Roger Strickland, and Toby goes, "Hey, you should play bass." Basically, hey, we need a bass player.
Yeah, that's how all bass players are made.
So, and I'm gonna I'll mention names. I'll mention a few names. So, one of my friends and his dad always said, well, if you find a bass for less than $100, I'll get you one, but that ain't gonna last. You ain't gonna stick to it. And Teresa Howell, who's now Teresa Cox, she said, well, my daddy has a bass, and he'll probably sell it to you, and it's $75. So me and Daddy went over to Teresa Howell's house because she lived right there behind the Thomas Grocery at the time, over off Central.
Mm-hmm.
Went over there and exchanged $75. And then I found well, you know how we all started. It just, nothing's right.
Mm-hmm.
I had a big open back 15, basically a box without a back on it, and a Randall RB120 head that didn't really work. And I usually just plugged it into my Panasonic stereo and just played. And that was how that started. And that was it. I found out that bass players don't get girls. Them nor keyboardists. So, and honestly, it stuck from the first night. And I'll never forget the very first night. So I was playing it and I didn't know what to do. No one to teach me. No one showed me anything. I had this Ibanez bass. It was a solid body. It looked like a violin. And don't know where it's at now, unfortunately. And I started just tapping my fingers on it. So maybe I can play it like a piano. And I started to tap. And I remember I came back the next day and I looked at Toby and I was like, can I just play it like this? I started to tap and Toby just looked, he goes, where'd you figure that out and learn that? I was like, well, it just sounds like it makes sense. And I could just go all over this thing.
You didn't get it from Eddie Van Halen?
No. I literally didn't know enough about, I knew nothing about anything about guitars. And I just started, I'm just curious person. And I just started
tapping on the fretboard?
Yeah. I just started touching. I said, because when I put my finger down, I was like, well, that makes a sound. And I'd tap on the fretboard and then I'd put my other finger. And I was like, oh, well, that makes a sound too. And I just started moving my fingers around. And I was like, oh, and first night, I didn't do any, there was no technique. There was just touching notes going all over the place. And I was like, oh, this sounds right. This sounds right. Next day I started doing that. And they're like, you can't play it that way. I was like, okay, well, how do I play it? And I had a pick for a while. And then once I started playing my fingers, that was it. That was, and everything I wanted to play was fast and lots of notes. And I didn't really know how to play bass. I just knew how to play fast and lots of notes.
That was my first instrument too.
Was bass?
I was a senior in high school, and I started buying albums in the 11th grade, started my album collection, So I was becoming a audiophile, And plus, I had listened to records and radio all my life, too. But everything that was hitting my ears, I was just focusing in on that bass.
Yeah.
And it was like, I want to play the bass. I want to be that guy and learn those bottom end parts, you know. And so I borrowed the bass drummer in a high school band, Jimmy Duncombe, had a bass, and he loaned me his bass. And
Remember what kind it was?
I have no idea.
I can
No
tell you right now, I didn't get you any
recollection.
girls. Whatever that bass was.
Well, that was before girls anyhow. For me, I was a late bloomer. But I ended up playing it through a standard guitar amp, you know, for the first little bit. But I learned to play it and realized that in order to sing, which I never considered myself a singer till I was in band with Billy Ray, and he was the lead singer, and I said, I can do better than that. Right. And but
Justin gonna edit that out, or?
I could not sing and play bass at the same time to save my life.
Yeah.
So at that point, it was like I got to learn to play rhythm, and kind of self-taught on all of that. Then I could sing, you know. But I bought my first bass from Gerald Dukes, who played bass in a gospel band around Waycross. He was 3 years older than me, and he had a Kalamazoo, like a 3/4 model.
Yeah.
That thing, it was about like that. It was white as that, and it was Kalamazoo was a Gibson, like subsidiary of Gibson, and that was a fine little bass. And then I went over to Dixie Music Center. You know the sign hanging in Tipsy's.
Yeah, was it in the same spot as there?
It might have been. That might have been right there.
They said that's what it used to be.
Okay.
That's
Bought
what I've
a
heard.
PV bass cabinet. I think it had a head and a cabinet
That would have weighed
separate, but
1,000 pounds.
had four
too.
casters on it,
Yeah.
4 rollers on it.
Did they
Yeah,
sell?
one
Did they
of
sell you a crane when you had to buy that thing too to put it in the back of the truck?
It was pretty accommodating. That was my trip down that road, and then it turned into 6-string guitar and went from there. That's interesting. Were you drawn to the bass?
No.
Did that make you buy it, or just somebody said?
Toby Harris, and I'm sorry, Toby, I'm throwing you in there. Play bass because Toby and I were best friends growing up. We were absolutely.
He was a guitar player.
He would play guitar, and I thought the most amazing sound I'd ever heard was Sweet Home Alabama. And I was just like, listen at him. He's the greatest. This is the best you've ever heard. And he's like, come play bass. I need to know. I couldn't tell. And if I'm to be really honest, I feel like I've only learned bass maybe in the past 8 years. I feel like I've
Become more
I'm listening.
comfortable.
Well, I think I'm listening. I've tried to listening, and I've jumped forward, but I've just tried to listen. And because back then for me, it wasn't listen to that bass. I was like, well, what's the bass? I don't even know what it is.
Uh-huh.
I always listen for guitar. Even now, I hear the guitar, I hear that playing, and that was what I would do. So what I got drawn to was instrumental. So the next thing you know, it was Van Halen. Yeah. Oh, don't get me wrong. You know, Van Halen, that was it for me. But when I heard Billy Sheehan play for the first time, it was in, is it Mark Mullins?
Mm-hmm.
Mark Mullins?
He played with
Mark
Toby,
Mullins
yeah.
or Mullis? Oh man,
Mullis.
Mark, I'm sorry if you're watching this thing.
Mullis. I
Mullis. So he was a concert. He could play piano like he was an absolute prodigy. And
Was he a local guy?
yeah,
Yeah.
he was. Yeah, he was a pharmacist. I remember he became a pharmacist or something. I'm in Mark's.
I didn't really know him that well. I just knew
Yeah,
him.
he
because
was.
y'all
He
knew him.
played in it because in Waycross, you know, everybody plays in a band together at some point. in
What was
time.
that band him and Toby were in that played at the stadium on 4th of July?
Oh man,
It was some weird name like.
I can't remember. I remember my first gig. That was Phobia at the Waycross Theater with me, Joey Waltower, Toby Harris, Ty Manning, and Gerald Bullard singing. And I remember that's a whole other
What
story.
was that? Is that a 4th of July?
No, that was just a We opened for Diamond Jack.
Diamond Jack.
Remember Diamond Jack?
Is that Skip Sasser?
Skip Sasser's
Okay.
band. And we opened for them. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but that was there's
At the Ritz?
video footage of that somewhere. Somebody my daddy came in. That was the first gig I ever played. And I could tell you that
First gig you ever played?
first
was at
gig I
Stadium?
ever played. Well, no, it was at the theater at the
theater.
Ritz Theater.
Ritz Theater.
Theater.
The Ritz
Okay.
Theater. There was probably a good 10 or 12 people in there.
Yeah.
I couldn't see because of spotlights.
I think I remember. Do you know? Did
That
you know
wasn't
me
on
then?
a flatbed truck out front.
No, this was
Okay.
inside in the theater.
This was
No, this was before. No, I was
yeah.
15. I was
Yeah.
15 or maybe 16. And me, Tom Manning, Joey Walltower, Toby Harris, and Gerald Buller. I could tell you the set list. We opened with "Hang Tough" by Tesla because it starts with a bass line, and they put the spotlight on me. And Daddy always said, he goes, "Son, I don't know what size nails they used to put your feet to the floor, but they did not move because I was frozen. I was just playing this bass line." And then we played that. We played "Heaven" by Warrant. We played "Wanted Dead or Alive" by Bon Jovi.
Wow.
And then we ended with "Rock and Roll" by Led Zeppelin.
Dang.
That was 4 whole songs we got to play. And boy, I tell you what, we hit big time. And there was just so much. It was a lot to take in as a 15 or so, 16-year-old to get all that because it was just loud and screaming. And then Skip Sasser and them they all got up there. And, I was like, wow, this is the greatest band I've ever heard. These guys are amazing. This is unbelievable. I just want to play music for fun and things like that. And, the whole Waycross thing. The next thing you know, you're in 12 bands and it might be a Christian band, rock band. And then this is before, grunge hit the scene. But for me, it was always instrumental. I wanted to play Satriani stuff and Vice stuff and Billy Sheehan. I'll go back to the Billy Sheehan thing. Was sitting in a car with Mark Mullis. He had a 86 Firebird and we were driving and he puts in a tape and he goes, "Listen to this." And it was Talus. And it was the MV4 3345 bass solo. And I said, "What guitar player is this?" He goes, "That's a bass solo." And that was it. I was done. And fast forward 30 plus years living in Australia, as I live in Australia, I have for the past 16. I get a call. There's a place called the Bass Center. And I love the Bass Center.
Like Guitar Center.
Yeah, but it's just, privately owned, smaller, and it's just all bass and everything.
Wow.
Wonderful guy, like the most wonderful guys, plugging for bottom of the planet right now. I get a call from one of the guys up there at City Ken, and they knew me and knew stuff like that because I'll talk the ears off an elephant. And like, "Ken, just want to let you know, no one knows this because Mr. Big was opening for Extreme over there." And I was like, and I had tickets because I've waited 30 years to see him because I've never got to see him. So one of the guys from the store called me and said, "Just let you know, Billy Sheehan's coming to the store. He's not doing a clinic. We're not telling anyone. There might be 5 people in here. I have left work." Didn't tell him I was going. I was 4 o'clock and I was gone. And I drive to the Bass Center and I walked in and Darren is at the counter and I looked at Darren and I was like, "Darren, don't you BS me." And he just points. And there he is. And he's talking to this Japanese lady. And everything in my head to try to be as cool as I possibly could. Because Sean, you have watched when I was 19, how many Mr. Big albums I wear out trying to learn every lick and everything,
Dude,
constantly.
You
I couldn't play with anybody because that's the only stuff I knew.
nobody can play with you because
Well, that's what I mean.
Like you're
I
playing
just couldn't.
like these songs exactly.
And
But like David Lee Roth, Eat 'em a Smile, like
yeah.
you learned every song off of there
I
that
tried.
nobody could play if they wanted to.
I tried as hard as I could, and I remember trying to learn the first Mr. Big album. I got hung up on Merciless, and I got hung up on that song, and I got hung up on a couple of songs with really hard tapping part. And then all of a sudden there was a tab book in there, and I just read through it, and I was like,
What was
"Oh,
that Ibanez bass pedal you had?
Oh, the old.
Was it even a bass pedal?
Oh, David Carr. If you watch this, and I'm going to forward this to David Carr in Australia, he's got one. It was a guitar pedal, but it had like a.
We called it
flanger.
the dinosaur, or you called it the dinosaur?
Yeah, I called it something, but it was. I saw one actually. This guy David Carr at Rangemaster Studios in Australia. He's got the biggest collection of pedals I've ever seen, and he has a couple of them. And as soon as I saw it, it just flooded back memories. And I was telling him, I was like, because I didn't know anything. You know, I didn't know anything. Oh, heck, I don't know
Was it like a
anything now.
chorus or something?
It had like chorus and flanger and distortion on it. But what I would do is I would set it to make it sound like Billy's bass.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I'm not saying I could, I thought I had it dialed in.
You did, man. That sounded like.
And I was like, this is it.
Justin, can you what's something good we could pull up by Billy Sheehan so people know who we're talking about?
Just
to get
anything.
Yeah, so I'll
Something
know.
off of
Yeah, so Dave will
like
know.
addicted to that Rush or something like that. That's really 80s.
It's very
Green Tinted
80s,
60s
but,
mind.
He was a bass virtuoso.
Oh,
or
and
is.
he still is. Winery Dogs. I can sit here and talk about Billy all day long.
Is there like
I mean,
something? Just what's the first video YouTube that comes to your mind?
no, I'd be addicted to that Rush. I mean, really.
Live.
Well, it's the actual
That-
video addicted
video?
to that Rush. So it's very 80s.
Okay.
Very.
Can you pull that up?
It's really going to show
It's been a while since
a
I've
lot.
seen it.
Oh
but
yeah. Oh, you could
it's
even
gonna
do the
be-
one from '92 from the bass solo and everything. Oh, the whole thing. That's amazing. This was.
we can skip around or whatever and get to
Yeah,
the,
that
Mr.
was.
B-
get to the
Mr.
bass.
Big.
It's funny because like I'm not there anymore, but for so many years,
yeah. We
this was,
come up on listening to this stuff.
Yeah, this was
And
it for me. I mean, this
I
was.
could never play as fast as anybody, and I still can't.
Yeah, I
And,
couldn't. I
as
didn't
far
think I
as
could
my
either.
Fret hand.
Yeah, I didn't think I could either, but I've
The
tried.
only thing I could do was like do chords that y'all couldn't reach or something.
Yeah,
I had
because
long
you
fingers.
you had the craziest chords I've ever seen.
I had to do
You've got these
something to
disjointed
throw y'all
fingers,
off.
and man, you were absolutely nuts with the chords. And that's what you were known for. It's like I'm like, how is he doing? What is this? He got 12 fingers or
We are
something.
coming in there like playing behind your head and stuff.
Here we go. That's the bass song. I had this on
That's Billy
VHS.
Sheehan.
I had this on VHS. And this is all I tried to do all the time. I tried.
Good Lord.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he set me. When I got to meet him, I said, Billy, you ruined me. He goes, I've done that a lot. Yeah. Amazing in so many ways. And very musical, extremely musical. Oh, yes. I never
Ken could do that. That galloping.
I worked on that as hard as I could, but I couldn't do it like Billy. Billy has a thing where he talks about 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, the one moves on every hand. And that's what I worked on as hard as I could do. And I think working on it so much, I tried that. That's what I tried to do so hard.
You did it, man. Sounds like
I never thought I could. I never thought
that bass pedal or that pedal. I don't know if it was a bass pedal or not, but that
Yeah, it
pedal
was just a guitar
sounded
pedal.
like that.
Yeah, I tried that bass, I built that. I remember that bass was a Frankenstein bass. Because Jamie Stewart,
What?
yes, Jamie Stewart.
Was it a Squire? Bass?
No, it was a mess. This thing was an
Well,
absolute.
it had a different neck on
It had a different neck. It had a Dean neck, but it was an older neck, and it had a weird body. Or no, it was a Dean body, but it was a
Dean
P bass type. We had a closet called the skeleton closet or something, and we would open up the Garlington place, and that's a whole other chapter. But we'd open up I'd open up that closet, and I just found all these pieces, and I just put together a bass. And I remember standing on it and having the wrong screws, and I remember putting cardboard shimming behind the neck, trying to make this thing in tune, and then I wanted to lower it. I got right into it, and it was for me. I didn't know how to be a bass player. I mean, and you got to be honest, but like I didn't.
You're like a bass soloist.
Well, I just wanted to play fast, and I wanted to do stuff. I thought my time was pretty good. That was the only thing. I thought my timing was pretty good, but I didn't know how to play. Like someone would ask me, like, "All right, we're going to play this in a 1-4-5." I couldn't because I do runs, and I just didn't know. I was like, "Oh, you got to play fast," and that's just what I did. I mean, I never considered myself a bass player or anything like that. I just had fun. I just had a lot of fun. As you know, we had a lot of fun. you know very well how much fun we had. So, but it was all about how loud, how fast you could get, and what was the next cool lick.
So when was the first band that y'all got together in?
Well, Sean, have we actually ever been in?
I mean, I don't think we have.
I don't think we've
because-
ever been in a band together, but
Yeah.
it's always been like Sean taught me so much about different music. So my first breakout into anything that wasn't Tony McAlpin, Steve Vai, Malmsteen, David, all of that. Sean got me into the Afghan Wigs. And that's it was actually a little bit before that, probably. We started listening to some other stuff. Sean started to listen. The grunge movement had come through, started to come through and things like that. And we kind of gravitated towards it a little bit. I held on to my metal. I held on to my instrumental, but I opened my brain to it. And Sean's like, hey, listen to this. Sean's always been deeper in the songwriting side and that musical side and things like that. And when he could get my attention, which was hard, but when he would get my attention, he's like, just listen to this part. And he started to break things down for me. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Now, of course, I would just kind of be back and forth all over the place. But Sean, actually, I credit Sean for putting me on the road to the first person who probably changed my musical diet, probably, or not change it, but add to it. And I've always credited Sean to that. I've always credited Sean. And, Afghan Wigs, Twilight Singers, anything with Greg Dooley, Brad, Satchel, Sean Smith, rest of his soul. Guys like that, I was like, wow, this is really good.
I was always looking for something new or
something new, something different.
I'd get bored.
PJ Harvey. I remember when the first time I heard PJ Harvey, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And it was so different than anything we ever listened to. Alice in Chains, though, that was mine. I think Alice in Chains got me.
Our generation was like, and especially, I guess, even if, you being a few years older, definitely your generation or that, what the mindset was, if you can't play blistering solos, then you ain't shit.
You're not shit. Yeah, that was it. Who was the fastest?
And so the turn of the tide was like Nirvana, and everything was just getting stripped back down again.
Yeah.
And there was this whole fight of what's right and what's wrong. And,
yeah, I just liked it all. I liked it. Now I wasn't a Nirvana fan. I'll admit, but I wasn't a Guns N' Roses fan either. I was
like
like
both of those bands.
Yeah, and it's always I could ruin a vibe quick with Sean. Sean's like, always tell Sean, I was like, I don't like that. He's like, how can you not like that? I was like, I don't like it. I don't know how you don't like it. But some things sit with you, some things. As I've gotten older, I've definitely learned to appreciate. I mean, there's 100% I've learned to appreciate. But back to your original question, sorry, that is we never played in a band, but what happen?
What about God Bless Jesse?
Well, God Bless Jesse. Yeah, we had
That was the name of a band.
We just made up
I forgot about that.
We
Oh
made a
my
cassette
gosh.
tape one time and we called it God Bless Jesse because that was like a
Yes.
saying of Ken.
We did. Sean and I actually.
But it was
Did
all
have
instrumental
anything
stuff.
to do with Jesse Herrin?
No, we didn't even know Jesse Herrin.
It was a Jesse Clemens. It was a made up name.
Jesse Clemens.
It was a made
forgot
up
about
name when
that.
I was in college for a little while. There's a guy named, I remember everything. I hate this. There's a guy named Ken Kuiper that lived down the hall in a dormitory. And he would scream out the window at ABAC in Tifton. And scream out the window, God bless Jesse, Jesse, take that ass, Jesse. And he'd just scream. And then we had a friend, Ken McAlpin. And we just, I don't know, one thing led to another. It was just God bless Jesse. I don't know what happened. And then Sean and I, actually, you're right. We had the Yamaha 4-track.
Yeah.
And your Papa Clark, we went to his place and we used his copier machine to make cassette inserts. And you did the artwork.
Yeah.
And we had one-word names for all the songs.
Do you have a copy of that? 'Cause
I
don't.
do not. I was going to ask you if you had a
I
copy.
couldn't tell you what one song
I
sounded
couldn't
like.
tell you what one. It was ambient. It was all ambient. And it was
Just basic guitar.
it was
nothing
bass
else.
and guitar, but we would
Instrumentals.
but we layered. Remember, we would just ping pong stuff and then
How
layer
did we
it back
record?
in.
We did it on the 4-track.
We did it on the 4-track, and I think we did it in your bedroom, if I remember
Probably.
right. But we did, yeah.
We probably made it in 2 days. Or
Probably
something.
made it 2. I don't even know if it took us 2 days. Yeah, we did make it in your bedroom. I remember because Eddie Walker's drum set was sitting in your bedroom. I remember because I'm throwing all kind of names out there, but
Wow, I forgot that.
yeah.
What was you doing with Eddie Walker's drum set in your bedroom?
Man, that was another band.
I don't even know. I remember it being there, but I can't remember. I guess we were trying to make a
We
We
were
were
band.
trying to make a band. Everybody was trying to make a
We were
band
always,
at some
like-
point in time, and everybody was in each other's bands and stuff. And I mean, once Sean got into that,
Everybody was trying to find who
yeah,
aligned with whoever played. You know, like
you were
trying to
just
find the
trying
chemistry
to
with
figure
somebody.
it out. And the thing was that everyone knew each other, and everyone got along. No one hated.
But
each other.
everybody, like, especially back then, like just half-assed knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
you know?
no one really knew. I mean,
And,
you had someone like Josh
think-
Kirkland that.
I
Yeah,
think
it's-
smoke on the water goes like this. No,
Yeah.
I think it
No, I
goes
think
like
it-
this.
Well, I remember the jacket he was wearing had 7 studs on it. No, it only had 5. Remember that one time when they were it's kind of like watching Rockstar. Josh Kirkland knew what was going on, but he was a different cat. He was a completely different cat.
He younger than y'all?
No,
Same
Josh
age.
is my age, maybe a year older or so.
Okay.
Josh was a step. That was different. Timmy Sebring, he was loud and proud. Kenny O'Bara, another bass player. Paul Lee, great Paul Lee. Gotta love Paul Lee. Paul Lee and I went to school together, and we started playing bass at the same time.
Really?
Yeah, completely different. Paul had the Kramer bass, and he had the Kramer BX80, I think he had. He had the nice
Is
gear.
it fluorescent green, the bass?
No, it was a gray, metallic gray bass. Because I remember him and his dad came out to the house, and it was the most awesome. Like, I love Paul. I haven't seen him in a long time. Paul, hope you're well. I haven't seen Paul in a long time. Paul was just always great, and the great thing with Paul is we just tried to learn from each other. No one was trying to be better, because there was that whole area of cutting heads and guitarists, and no, Paul.
Meet me in the back alley.
Yeah,
and I'll
we're
rip
gonna-
your
we're
head
gonna
off
cut
with
heads.
These licks.
Paul, the thing I loved about Paul is that Paul would ask me what I'm listening to. I'd ask Paul what he's listening to, and we listened to 2 totally different things. I remember Paul playing Moby Dick. The first time I heard Paul play Moby Dick, I was like, yeah. I think we were in Waynesville or something. He was playing a gig, and we're just teenagers. We don't know anything, and Paul was right on it, and it was so good to watch him. It was so good. And then Kenny O'Bara was a slap pop man, and I can't do any of that. And if you needed somebody who could slap it and pop it, boy, you called Kenny, and Kenny was on it. And Rush, stuff like that, man, he was on it. I was just, if I had Mr. Big and David Lee Roth and stuff like that, I was like, yeah, I'll try. I'll kind of see what I can work out.
What about Flea?
No, I never got.
No?
Never got there. I appreciate him, but it never quite got. It was always that instrumental thing, and like I said, I feel like Sean opened me up to that singer-songwriter side, because once Sean started going down that road, and Sean was always on that road. I felt you.
But I couldn't
knew,
do the other. I was interested in the virtuoso stuff. I knew I was never going to get
yeah,
it.
but in your heart, I always saw like the songs you would write and things. I was like, yeah, this is where he's at.
I wanted to write more than I wanted to
Well,
do
what
anything.
was funny, and I'll bring this up, and it is funny, is that when you started singing, everything
Bad.
sounded like Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh, yeah. It's horrible. Well, that's what I was trying to sound like, because I didn't
And you
know
were
anything.
but then what happened was that you could not sound like him
Yeah, it's
anymore,
like-
and you're like, and you would get so mad, like, man, I can't stop. I still sound like Billy Corgan to this day. I can't stop. But you found your voice. You found your voice, and then through the years, me being
It
in the
wasn't a good role model. that's
well,
for sure.
but me being like, I remember me being in the military and coming home and playing and stuff like that. You'd be playing somewhere, and I'd come in, and you're like, oh man, come in, sit down. And it never missed a beat. We could come in, 20 something years.
Yeah.
I could walk in, I could come in, sit down, and you'd look at me. I'm like, what song is this? And you would always go, you'll pick it up.
Yeah.
And it was never like, and every great once in a while, you would just say, hey, there's this part that goes from C to F or something. But you'll hear it, you'll be fine. And then I would make
we
up a
speak the
bass
same
line.
language
Yeah.
with all that stuff.
Because we kind of had the same vibe with that just when we played, because we were listening to the same. You were well more advanced than me, what you listened to, but I had that core part you had taught me. So I could bring that vibe. I'm like, I know I'm not playing with Sean, but if I do this, it'll make him turn his head. And I would normally do, and it's not a lick or a run, it was just something small. And always the greatest feeling to me, I have to be honest, was when you're sitting there singing, you're on the acoustic, and you do this.
Yeah.
And then you'd forget that you were singing or something like that. And I always thought I was like, what did I do? And you're like, oh man, I wish we had a video. It was always fun. But playing in other bands, I mean, the two greatest nights, I have to say, was Newfanglers. I sat in 2 nights with y'all because Paul couldn't. Paul was on the road. I think he was on the road was he on the road with Leon at the time?
Where was this at?
It was at First Creek.
Mm-hmm.
First Creek, Newfanglers.
He wasn't running San for Leon.
I don't think if he was with Leon yet or still.
No,
I don't think he'd gotten with
yet.
Leon yet, but he was on the road. I think he was running sound.
Well, actually, he closed Crosstown Music in 2008, and that was still the First Creek, I believe.
That was still First Creek because
Okay.
you were running that.
Huh?
That you were running that in there.
Running what?
Weren't you running crosstown?
No, well, I worked there.
Where you work?
Yeah,
I
worked
was trying
there.
to build you up, saying you ran it. That's what I was trying to.
Well, I
always
did a lot of work there, and Paul was he had lost interest in it
Yeah.
a lot by then, because
Well, he was into running sound. If I remember right,
he
was
did a
doing
lot of
the sound.
gigs. He was doing a lot of sound gigs at the time, and
Stuart Winfield.
Yeah.
that's right.
That's right. I forgot about
and
that.
then
Yeah.
when the store closed down, he bolted straight to Athens.
Yeah, and that's when
and
he
set
took
up
off.
business, and then he probably got with Leon in about 2010.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah,
Yeah, somewhere around there, and
because I'd already moved away in 06, but I just remember coming in, and I think Sean said, "Hey, are you available? We got 2 gigs." Paul had to come out.
You were coming home. You were home
I was
from Australia. Right?
home, and what was so great about it, the greatest thing about it to me to this day was we didn't need to rehearse because you guys were, that was just ingrained in you. That album is just,
You knew the album so
I knew the
well that-
album so well because I was just always playing along with it and stuff like that. And, it wasn't all this ripping. It was just honest, heartfelt, really good music. And I remember just getting on stage and starting to play, and it was just the most, I was like, this is the parts. This is how it goes. And I just remember smiling all night long for 2 gigs. And it was just so good. I mean, every song is just so good on there. So, Newfanglers, go get it. Go get it. But yeah, it's always been just kind of in and out with people and hanging out, and we need a bass player. Ken in town, might not be any good, but at least I could make a bunch of noise.
Yeah, we didn't do it this round, but I usually fit you in somewhere on a gig or something.
Well,
but-
you work, man. You're a solid work musician now. You
yeah, I don't
for
have a lot of
years and
time.
years now. You guys, that's you set the stage.
Trying to keep the lights on.
what do you do down there in Australia?
Oh, dude, I work in industry, commercial audio visual, so like anything designing classroom, a screen on the wall, and stuff with video conferencing and speakers and microphones and things like that. So not so much the broadcast stuff like we're doing here, but I get my way around it. But that's just those kinds of things. So
It's about setting it up more than it is about.
well, it's about
making
designing. Like somebody might
design.
need let's say there's a 30-story building and they go like, hey, we need 150 rooms and they're going to be video conferencing. And I just would kind of help out with like, all right, well, this is how screens go and this is how table boxes and all the technical stuff that goes with it and what needs to be put in and microphones and plugs and control systems and things.
You had a lot of
nerdy stuff.
You had a lot of that coming out of the Navy and stuff.
In a way, yeah. The Navy was.
And you went to school after that when you got out?
No,
you didn't.
Well, yeah, a little bit. So in the Navy, I did what's called electronic warfare, a lot of technically anti-ship missile defense through briefing type NATO and
Damn.
stuff. Yeah, stuff like that. When I was
Top secret.
there's a bit of secret stuff in there. And just it had a technical side of it. It's like big radar. I always say it's sonar above water is what it was. So You just did it on top of the water instead of below water. And that was technical, and I went to school for a long time in the Navy, and then got out and finished up some school kind of online and remotely and things like that. And
It's got you in all these
yeah, it's
engineering,
just like, engineering
technical
stuff and things like that. So I don't, people get real nerded out about it.
You get nerded out about it too.
Sometimes not too bad.
He's got to get the schematics on everything he gets.
Yeah, I just look at lines.
Tear it apart, rebuild it.
Yeah, I just break it so I can know how it works.
You ought to be able to fix your phone then.
Man, there ain't no fixing that phone. I saw that tonight.
That something got drove over.
You need to throw that away and start over.
It looks like you pulled it behind you from Brunswick to Wake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a little bit too much fun at Brunswick Porch Fest, and at the end of the night, lost my phone and went back to. Finally found it in the street, and it'd been run over. But looks like it got shot with buckshot or something.
It does. It absolutely does.
I'm horrible.
So, your mother actually is Sean's neighbor.
Yes.
My landlady.
Oh,
The slumlord.
Yeah.
I mean, the landlord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rochelle.
Rochelle. So Mom moved out she lived in California for years and years and years. And she came back to Waycross where she lived for a little while. And just because California changed a little bit and Mom's getting a little bit older. And
She retired out there.
yeah, she retired out there. And my brother Scott's here pretty close. So, but heck, Sean and Bess probably take care more of anything like that. Scott's the good brother, don't get me wrong, but I'm so far away. I've actually just visited Mom now and said hello and stuff. And she sings Bess and Sean's praises, they're just the best. They're the best. So,
Well, they are. They are the ideal tenants.
yeah.
It's all a bunch of hype.
Yeah. But
We're
no,
horrible.
that is the other thing that's kind of like, I don't know if I take it for granted or what, but knowing Sean's right there next door to Mom, that's a nice feeling.
Helps you sleep better.
It definitely does. It definitely does.
So in Australia, the water goes backwards.
It
Right.
does. It
The
does
water
the other
drains
way.
backwards.
It goes.
Every time
the
you
other
flush
way.
the toilet, it fills
Yeah.
upward.
Yep. You flush one up here, it fills one up down there. It does. It goes the other way in the sinks. I wouldn't say the toilet so much because you flush the toilet there and it's just a big.
But is it that big a deal? Like when you come back, you're like, wait a minute, it's going down.
No, I don't even pay attention to
man.
it.
I feel dizzy.
No, I don't. It's the flight more than anything that does it. It's
Jet
funny,
lag.
like living somewhere else is.
I mean, you're pretty much literally on the other side of the world. from
Yeah,
here.
it's a full 24
This
hours.
always
worth of
trips
fun.
me up. Okay, I know that we're on the East Coast of America, and
Yep.
when you're flying west,
Yep.
you're gaining hours.
Yep.
So,
you can land before you
But
left.
at some point,
No.
I guess it starts in Japan, right?
There's
The
an
new day
international.
starts.
There's an international date line. I forget exactly where it is.
Is that Australia or y'all
Nah, it's somewhere in the Pacific, a little bit more. I can tell
further
you.
west?
I can tell you the time right now. So,
That
right
trips
now,
me out, though. I mean, you're gaining hours up to a certain
Yep.
point. Then it's tomorrow is tomorrow's beginning.
When you go,
well, here you go. You want to know the time right now? So right now it's a 8:15 at night.
8:15.
It's 8:15, what day,
Where?
whatever day it is. Here,
in Austin,
Oh, here.
no, right
yeah.
here. So
Yeah.
yeah, and it is a noon tomorrow
Oh, it's
at my home.
already tomorrow.
Yeah,
Here.
I'm gonna call
It's
home.
past
Y'all
noon
want the
tomorrow.
lottery numbers? I'll call the house and see what they are, and see if we can't get them. I'll see if we can't figure out what news is
y'all
coming.
have a lottery over there?
Yeah. It's all look. It's
That seems like such an American thing.
That's what gets
it's-
me, though,
It's all
so-
around the world. So this is the one thing that's always funny is it's always, because no one knows about Australia and stuff. You ride kangaroos and you got all this. And look, if you were to come down there, you'd be like, man, there's no difference in this than it is
Anywhere.
anywhere else. And look, to be honest, where I live, man, it's some of the best people you will ever meet. I mean, they're just kind, caring, considerate. It's just like living in Ware and Brantley County. It's really just the same, except they travel more. So they got a little bit more of a world presence. You know, Americans, we hang out.
We stay put.
We stay put. And then we might travel around our own country when we get older or something. Over there, they travel young and they get around the whole world. And then they see their own country usually when you get older. So very well versed in the world, Australians. Very, very well versed. So I was lucky because I traveled in the military and a little bit with Mom. So when I went over there, I wasn't, you know, because you kind of, the American walks in the room over in Australia, there's a bit of an eye roll or let's see where this goes or something like that, you know, because Americans are in that bubble for what they consider a lot of times, but very accommodating, very nice. It's honestly, it is, there's just, if you're saying bad things about Australians, you're with the wrong people. Maybe you're in Austria. I don't know. And it's not Australia.
What about that lockdown?
Ooh, man. Yeah, I thought I'd never go to prison, but you know, I mean, it's one of those things that, how do you say this the right way? Because it, you know, it ruffled everybody's feathers. We all know, you know, we all had some version of lockdown. In Melbourne, if you do the whole wiki thing and stuff, you see Melbourne's at the top with the lockdown.
Y'all had it more rough than anybody.
It was it was the roughest. I mean, we trying to say that, you know, well, that's not something to be proud of, but I guess.
I mean, y'all had fewer cases.
Well, yeah, but fewer people in a kind of a way, you know, you think about it and stuff like that. There's only 25 to 28 million in all of Australia, but Melbourne had it different than the rest of Australia as well. So, because everybody had their ways of doing these lockdowns, and the way that they did it was harsh. It was extremely harsh. So, and, you know, without getting political and stuff, you know, at first you think you're doing the right thing and you're trying to do all that, and would you do it different if you had it? And, that it's, without getting too deep in it, that changed the landscape. As I've seen coming over here, this is the first time in 3 years, you know, Dad passed away when I came.
Do you see any
home.
differences here?
Yeah, I see a bit. It's not massive, but it's little stuff. You know, do you see businesses close down? Just like we
lost a lot of
businesses. You see that, and people acting differently. You know, just like we have, and a lot more cautious. But then you see the other side of it, the whole conspiracies and the things, and so it's not much different than where I was in a way. So you guys just got rolling a lot.
And the last time you were here was 2020.
Yes.
And we were going to have you on the podcast then. We were just getting started with this thing. And
it happened.
And you had to get home before you couldn't get home.
Yeah. and funny or not funny. So Dad passed away, you know, when I was here. So I came home, and I was going to be here 5 weeks, and I was only here 10 days. And so I had to turn around, because it was best for me to go home, because I would have been stuck here. And my, you know, talking to my doctor and stuff, who's one of my best friends. Hey, Rick's one of my best friends in the world. He's just one of the most wonderful people you'll meet. And I called Rick and I said, what do I do? He goes, buddy, I think it's best. Your life's here. He's like, no offense. He's like, but you know, everything's here for you. Your insurance, your medicals and stuff. So, and he was, you know, he's right. Rick's always right. So I went back, and that was it. We were done. So, you know, we got to do Dad's memorial and stuff like that, which was good. You know, I know it sounds, but it was a good day.
It was good. It was good closure for you.
It was good closure and everything.
If that would have happened before, and then you weren't able to come over here, that's been rough.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that a lot of people did rough stuff like that with the, you know, whether it was pandemic, where it was a wedding or a funeral or things like that, and you couldn't do, and you know, we all lost loved ones here and there and stuff. I remember flying back, got on the plane, because I remember going from Jacksonville to Charlotte to LA to Melbourne. There, no one on the flight. I took a selfie, and I think you might have seen it. And there was no one on the flight to Charlotte. There was no one on the flight to LA. And when we went from LA to Melbourne, when we pulled in Melbourne and landed, and we're pulling in, the pilot came across and said, we have just been told that this is the last flight out of America into Australia.
Wow, dude, you barely got it there.
So, and then things really changed because they were doing all these quarantine stuff. But I had told I told Joanne, she said, well, just get an Uber. So I said, I'm not getting this sickness from an Uber driver. So she took my car. I remember she took my car I said, please take my car to the airport. I said, because here's what's going to happen. I'm ex-military, so, veteran. So you kind of learn and see things back then. And I said, I think you're going to get quarantining. She's like, what's that? And I said, I think it'll come. And then she went and stayed. I said, just go stay with your sister for a few days, 10 days. And I went home. She went and stayed with her sister. And then Rick, my doctor, he checked on me after 12, 14 days and made sure I was good. And then Joanne came back home. And then right after that, they started quarantining. Mm-hmm. And they said, oh, well, we're going to quarantine all. And Joanne looked at me and said, how'd you know? I said, oh, that's where this was going. So, and then, yeah, for about 2 years, that was it. Mm. So you couldn't
be so many miles from your house.
Yeah. So they didn't kilometers. So 5K is about 3 miles. So you couldn't go more than 5 kilometers from your house. You could only go out for an hour a day. Wear a mask.
And how long did that last?
A very long time.
Years?
Well, it just went, they'd soften them and then they'd bring them harder and stuff. It was up and down. I mean, it was just, but
so
it
like
was
a color code.
It was just, there was a daily, thing that the government came out and the premier would say.
You could go 6 kilometers.
Well, they moved it out. They moved it out to 10, and they moved it out to 15, and they moved it back into 5, and they changed time. It moved all around for what they thought that it needed to be done.
And if you got caught or anything,
So if you got you
got beat.
Well, no, you didn't get beat down, but you would. I even made Justin laugh.
You gonna get beat, boy.
So if you got caught out for one of I think it was 4 reasons that you were out, it was a $5,500 spot fine.
Oh man, that was serious.
Yeah. So, but there was a lot of stuff I could say. There was people calling me, and Sean, I know me and you joked a little bit about it, but you were serious, like, "Hey, are you all right over there? Do we need to come get you?" and things like that. Some of the news stuff wasn't quite right. They were showing helicopters and tanks and all. That never happened. Like where we were, there were some incidents that happened, but it wasn't. They're not around us. Things like that. So. We live in a real quiet suburb, a little bit north of Melbourne. That's about a 30, 40-minute drive for us. But, everybody tried to do the right thing. We tried to do the right thing, and you learn to appreciate, coming out of it, as everybody here did. I mean, it's not just us. I mean, it's everyone. You appreciate things more. And I'm lucky to have a really good circle of friends, a really, really good. So we all would talk and get on WhatsApp or whatever and just have a big call and everybody have their drink and you just do what you could. You did everything you could.
That seems so ancient, don't it?
It does. It does
seems
now.
Almost like, damn, did that really happen?
Did it happen?
Yeah. But the music came out good from
it. It took the world by surprise. I mean, everybody, you know nothing about it.
Yeah.
Originally. And then everybody's trying to do what they consider the right thing, and it was scary,
And everybody
started picking sides,
and
I'm not with it at all, or I'm with it completely to the overboard.
Josh Kirkland was going through a breakup at the time, right when the thing was starting out, and he was coming over to my house about every night,
Yeah.
And
I think it was me that talked to you.
Yeah, I think it was. She said,
"That's like
that ain't
man.
good."
That's not.
He said, "Where does he go when he's not at your house?" I said, "Come to think of it, I don't know." So I had to tell him. I said, "Josh can't come over anymore. I don't know where you've been. You might kill me."
What happened with the? Well, I mean, the one I try to take the positives out of some of these lockdowns because we all kind of, you got to find something, whether it's whatever it is. And the only thing that I knew to do is I woodshedded with the bass and learn more, and tried to learn more by learning less or playing less, should I say?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was my thing. I mean, I had little projects in my workshop that I've got back home that I made a workshop under a house and stuff, and got my bass
You
gear.
dug out a whole.
Yeah, I dug out for
He
over
made
a
a
few
basement
years.
like
Yeah,
by himself, like digging out
over
from
a
under his
few,
house.
yeah, over a few years, yeah, and then just kind of,
Like
and
he
then
was preparing like for breaking out of prison. or
yeah, and a
something.
couple of my good friends,
Trying to
Damien and
dig back to
Adrian, over there they came over and helped me design and taught me how to use tools properly and things, and it's all kitted out, and it was fun. We did, of course, this was well before, lockdown stuff and all of that. And then I had another music change, after. I always credit you for that first, like, hey, there's more than just and I think it was 2014, 2015. A friend of mine, Anthony, a bass player, is a session player back in Melbourne, great player. And he said, "You want to change the way you listen to music?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm in a rut. I don't know how to do it." And he came back the next day. We worked together, and he had a stack of about, I want to say it was 15 CDs. And he handed them to me in a certain way. And Anthony was that guy that would pop you on the hand, And he goes, "You listen to these in this order. Do not change the order. And you listen to every song." He's like, "I don't expect you to listen to this in a week." And go through it. And I went through it. Stuff, Esperanza Spalding, D'Angelo Voodoo, which to me is the greatest album now.
Yeah,
That changed everything for me, and a lot of others. So I got into a bit of R&B. It wasn't all R&B, but that got me into R&B, and it turned me on to Pino Palladino, and that was it. And now, but it's not like where the Billy thing was, where I was like, everything had to be Billy. I didn't want everything. I learned my lesson. I was like, but if I'm going to learn, it's not bad to learn from Pino, kind of thing. So I just got in the woodshed, and I went with it. I mean, I've always had a confidence thing that I'm not doing it right. I'm not doing it good or anything like that. And Ryan Lim, if you're watching, and I'm going to force you to watch this, Ryan was just going to shake his head. He's like, "I've been trying to tell you, Ken, you play fine. You do this, just keep doing it." And Marcel Yamuni the same way. So I don't know. I just want to be better when I play. And I'm not trying to be the best. I just want to be, I've got some influences over there that are just, Rick Wong, Marcel Yamuni, Ryan Lim. Marcel Yamuni, I mean, go check him out. My goodness. That guy was an extraordinary player, producer, everything. He lives around the corner from me, and he's been a massive influence. And he's just, hey, listen to this. Just need to do this. It's funny when there's an entire band in there, and he's better on every instrument in there than all the people who play their own instrument.
Yeah, like Ken is really like, we should pull up some of this stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe let's take a break and then we'll pull up some of this stuff.
Yeah. Some of the Marcel stuff is just, sorry,
'Cause
Marcel.
These guys are some serious players. They've got some, and he knows them all. Like, these guys are playing on albums, aren't they?
Well, yeah, Marcel. I mean, Marcel was the guitarist for Vanessa Amorosi on her world tour.
I don't know what that is, but that
well,
sounds cool.
Vanessa. I mean, so she was absolute just singer to no end. And I can't even get into stuff Marcel's done. It's just, I'm just very glad to have Marcel as a friend. Like, I was fanboy with Marcel. Like, when I first got, I was like, wow, Marcel. And Rick Wong took me to, Rick, my doctor, but also a great influence and a great friend of mine. And Rick's a phenomenal guitarist. And Rick's like, "Oh, we'll go listen to this guy," back in 2010 or something like that. And I was like, "Who is this?" And we're listening to this instrumental tape. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And he's like, "This is who we're going to see." And lo and behold, here we are so many years later, and I consider the Mooney family to be my family. I mean, it's great to hear the music, but you know, between the brothers David and Joe and sister Susie and Marcel, I mean, they're family. I mean, that's just what it is. So I got past the fanboy, which I've never done before. So I got past the fanboy. I was still fanboy a little bit, but yeah, if you want to check out Marcel Mooney, I mean, just he's amazing. So
Let's take a break. We'll pull some up.
cool.
All right. See you in a minute.
I gotta pay.
Something in my brain won't let me stray. Something in my veins gonna find its way. Something in the water taught me how to pray. When that cold black water finds its way into your veins, you'll never be the same.
Well, we're back. This is, what year was this?
Oh man, 7 or 8 years ago.
This is at the
2019.
Current Creek.
No, this is 7 or 8 years ago. This is 7 or 8 years ago.
This is at the current LL Creek,
Yep.
or before they
the
remodeled. This is Josh Kirkland on lead guitar, and Ken playing bass. He's on drums.
Andy Riotto,
Andy.
Yep.
Lake City.
Is this the first song of the night?
No, we'd already blown everything up on the first song.
And this is at LL Creek.
Yeah,
Did we say that already?
yeah, that was it. Yeah. And all the mess ups are free, by the way. Anytime I mess up, it's free of charge.
Free of charge.
They're all included.
Hey.
Yeah. So this is what was on one of your trips home.
Yeah, this was just, we showed up,
We were all up there,
We just-
having a good time.
walked in and started playing. There's a free mess up for you. And Andy, I'm telling you, the most undersung person that was holding those drums down.
Yeah, I like Andy. He's a good guy.
I had to play a gig just like this with Andy and Josh over in Brunswick one time. I didn't do near as
You
good
played
as
bass?
you. Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't do this kind of stuff. Mine was very simplistic. Just enough to get by. That's my style.
And then you hear Mike Fippen. Listen, you gotta hear this. Well, once he comes in on the vocal part. We all know on those, it's just, it fits back and back on. Now he can sing too.
The creek's lighting left a little bit desired, didn't it? I remember them little old digital lights.
Here we go. Listen for Mike in here,
Here
Sean.
it is.
That was Mike. We had a good time. We had such a good time that night. We started that first song. Josh threw it all out there. We had nowhere to go. Everything into
What was the first song y'all played?
Going Down.
Going Down?
It's amazing, and there's a video online. You can watch it. It just, oh. If you listen to guitar tone like this and you want to play it.
Dave and I watched him last night playing with Chris Ryder and Laurie Ryder.
Was it good?
It was good.
Oh, yeah.
It was a good time.
It's always good. I don't know why I asked that.
But you know, when we after the night was over, we went up to the stage and talked to everybody, and it was the same thing.
Yeah.
Man, I was having a hard time.
Yeah. Man, it just wasn't quite right. I don't know, man. I think I might stop playing guitar.
Never good enough.
I think I'm gonna quit after this. I just don't think I'm good enough.
He's getting a little more out there, more, I don't know what the word is, less anxious,
Oh, he's such a
more like, you know, I can do this. I can make a living doing this.
I
you know?
love getting him in these moods. Like, I just,
Well, he's booking himself. He's booking his
yeah.
own band when Ryder's not working or traveling,
Yeah.
Riverside's not working, you know.
Yeah.
And he's, you know, kind of asserting himself and commanding the
Oh, that's
stage,
good.
you know.
That's good.
So he's coming out a little more. I like
Well, when
that.
we used to play, like, I was playing with him 4 nights a week before I moved to Australia. 4 nights a week I was playing and working a full-time job. And we would play all these places throughout the Southeast, or we'd even go to Lake City. So between Lake City, Brunswick, and Jacksonville. And we used to play McGarvey's a lot. And we'd feel that every single time we played there. And I mean, they knew what they were getting. And Josh was extra special on McGarvey nights. Extra special. So,
Where was that club?
McGarvey's was before Tips and McSway's. So the McGarvey brothers had it, and then unfortunately one of the McGarvey brothers
Same
passed
building
away.
that Tipsy's is in?
I'm not sure. I haven't been there, but
Yeah.
it was beautiful. One of the McGarvey brothers had passed away in a boating accident, and we were asked to play the tribute. So we had the whole truck and come out there and played. His favorite song was Freebird. And Josh comes up and he goes, Freebird, we're doing the 13-minute version.
All right.
And man, there wasn't a dry eye.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't play that one. That one's
All right.
Yeah.
That was our guest, Ken Herrin. What year was that about?
I'm wanting to say that's probably about 7 or 8 years ago, I want to think. So it's been a little while, that one. And I was very, I don't like watching myself back because that's horrible, but
That's good.
it's definitely a good time. We always have a good time. And that's the one thing with Josh and everybody, even Sean, sometimes, you know, you come home and it's like, be sitting out there having dinner and even Sean would go, well, we're about to get Ken up. I'm like, oh, what are we doing? So, but it was so comfortable and we'd play. And Josh, you know, lead at LL to just say, you coming home, y'all want a night? And she just booked a night with the three. Andy I'd drive from Jacksonville. Andy would drive from Lake City and Josh would show up and we'd walked in and we'd play 3 sets. And we'd just look at each other, no set list, and Josh would just start playing and we'd just go. So because we played a lot of songs enough, but then of course, classic Josh Kirkland, he just like, he'll just start playing a song. And both Andy and I look at him and go like, we don't know that song, but we go do it anyway. So,
why don't you demonstrate a little bit on that bass?
Man,
right
what's there to demonstrate? It's got 4 strings and like I said, no girls like.
It ain't like that 17-string bass the dude played on ZZ Top
ZZ Top or
stage.
anything like that. Well, you can't play
That
it
was
by
on
itself.
ZZ
There ain't
Top?
no.
Something about ZZ Top. I don't know if it's
That was,
somebody.
was
that was
the-
the new guy that's playing.
I think it was.
Oh, the new guy.
Yeah, I think it was. It had to be some kind of a joke or
passed
something.
away, and then their
Yeah,
roadie tech guy.
yeah.
Whatever.
Picked up.
Yeah, I'm telling you, when
I didn't know that was
talk
a
about
picture from him,
overkill.
though.
Was that a harpsichord?
I thought
Like a chessboard.
The chessboard.
I
Look,
thought a
backgammon
6-string. I thought a 6-string was overkill.
Yeah, that was a backgammon set.
How many strings was it?
17. 17.
What in the hell?
I
That
don't know what he was
that
doing.
ain't even a multiple of 4.
No, it's like half a piano. I think it was just a.
Man, you could play whatever song it is. You could play it on one fret.
Yeah.
because it's 17
17
strings.
How do you play
You
it?
just go up and down
What
to
kind of
whatever
chords
you
you doing
need.
on that? What kind
That's
of,
crazy.
I mean, it might be the wrong octave.
Well, I'm
kinda-
sure they start at a low, what, B?
it'd have to be on a B.
Can you
Low
can we pull
B.
this up so that everybody can at least see what we're
Can we
talking
see
about?
this 17
what we're rambling
string?
on about?
Yeah, we're
And
just
so it
rambling.
would go
Where would we look
B,
it up?
E, A, D, G, and
talking
start
about the
all
tune?
He's talking about
You
the
talking about
notes
the
on the
tune, or you
string.
I'm
telling
talking
him
about
what
the
to search?
string
He's talking about.
Yeah.
I think he's talking about the string guy.
Type in this, just a B A E.
What is the
17
17-string bass tuning?
I don't
I
even
think
know.
it's yellow, but that's
There it is.
Image.
Yeah,
It'll
that
be a
yellow one was.
There it is.
There we
they
go.
are. We're gonna
Yeah,
pull
that
up
picture right there. Look at
this.
that.
What's going on here?
What is that? A screen
What's
door?
wrong with that guy?
I don't know.
He's playing a freaking chord.
I'm not sure what you do with that. I'm gonna be real. I don't even know.
All right, now type in
That's like a washboard.
tuning at the end of that search up there. Just type the word tuning in at the end of it.
Maybe it comes back. There's no any existence.
You got 3 pickups.
general
to go
General
all the way
discussion. There you go. Well, I'll tell you what. There's only so
Good
many
Lord.
notes. Look at that mess.
Wrap your thumb around that.
I don't even know what you do there.
All right.
I can't even handle
back-
4 of
You
them.
have to play that with your feet.
It's a Jeff Healy bass.
Back up to Google again. There's bound to be a better link than that. 17
This is how this starts. We start on bases. Next thing you know, we're watching a Barney video, and he's. I don't even know. I can tell you what though, it'll be.
Bass fishing.
I don't even know how you'd begin to do this. Maybe when you buy the bass, they
Can we
tune
see
it for you,
video of somebody playing
There's
one
a
of those?
chart right there.
and then when they tune it back for you, you got to send it off to get it tuned.
It's like a piano.
You got like a piano.
You
it's
got to
like,
have somebody
you
come
call,
over and tune
call
it.
somebody out. They're like, "How we tune this? It's $450 an hour for us to turn them strings."
All right,
now."
there's got to be a better link than,
What kind of- what-
forums and
Can
stuff.
you imagine the bass string
Just
pack that
try
comes in?
that. The 17-string bass is insane. Try that one.
Man, that's,
We're about to be on a crazy
You-
YouTube
you break
search
a-
here.
That one. Let's see
you
what
break a
he
string on
says
one of them
about it.
things, and you better have a backup.
All right.
I
That's
need-
what you put your dishes on to drum. I
I mean, what
that a
kind of
drawing rack?
gauge is that?
don't even know what's going
Look
on.
at the head of that thing.
Good
I
Lord.
don't even know.
Oh man.
I don't even know where to be.
What?
That's not anything I'm on. It looks like it's been photoshopped.
It's like a coffee table.
That's like the John Holmes version. The John Holmes bass guitar.
Got 4 truss rods.
This is just
good
overkill. Who the hell came up with this?
What?
I don't know, but
Now this is what we
but
need.
we've been searching it for 5 minutes. They've gotten all the attention in the world.
When how low can you go goes wrong?
Yeah.
Well, dang.
How low?
That's
can
a
you
simple
go?
question. 17-string bass tuning.
Yeah. What
It's
if I
a
just
simple
bought it and I
damn
need
question.
what if I bought it and I need to tune it? I don't even know. I think it's a fender on the
that's-
headstock.
You had to try a 17-string bass string. No.
How, I mean, like you see where his hand is? Like how?
Yeah, let's
He's got
listen to a
to
little
wrap
bit.
his whole arm around there to get to the top. Oh no! Yes, this is what I'm
If
talking about.
anybody would do this, it would be ZZ Top.
I don't even know what I'm looking at right now.
Is that his hair or wig?
It's party time. Time to rock.
I bet it's strung upside down.
around.
You can't get to the middle.
Well, I
He's
guess,
playing the top.
well, if
Play
you
everything open.
well, if you think about it, you got 17 open strings. You can just
Yeah.
play any note you need.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you just hit it open.
Because there he is. Now he's on the bottom. He's back up
But
there.
he's going back at the top.
Just play a couple strings.
That's a low note.
I don't even. I feel like it's a Steve Vai concert.
So what key is this song in? Look, Dusty's at A. Is that A that he's at?
Well, he might tune down. I think he tunes
in,
down. Is he tuned down to D in this? Well, I'll tell you what, it don't matter what he tunes down to because he's ready for it. He's ready for whatever he tunes to.
That's crazy.
Looks like something out of Star Wars. Looks like an instrument they would have dreamed up for the Star Wars cantina.
Yes.
What kind of amps is all that back there? Look at that red arrows.
That's Billy Gibbons amps there.
What are they?
Probably those magnetone or
Yeah.
he's playing the top note or the low note open there.
So I wonder if the standard, the last four strings are E, A, D, G.
Yeah.
Maybe the middle 12 strings don't exist. They're just painted
Yeah,
on.
that's just like.
Maybe they're just
You can't
painted.
even reach them.
They could just be painted on there.
You couldn't reach the middle string if you wanted to.
No.
All right, well, how the
That's just a flex. That's just a flex.
It's
It's just like
flex.
it's just like the fuzzy guitars.
It is.
So there's 8 keys on one side
There you
and
go.
9 on the other.
I like how it's got
Yeah,
the
do a
fender head
sweep
stop.
off. Do a sweep on that thing.
You need a broom. You need a broom to actually sweep
What
it
did
up.
it do? But about it out.
You need a helper. You need somebody else up there to help
Oh,
I don't think Dusty Hill did it this way.
look at
you.
that.
No.
That's the only way you can play that string is overhanded.
I bet that's the same. That's probably tuned to E, and that's tuned to
It's,
E.
it's probably
It's just like no matter where it
they're
goes.
just
I can play it
doubled
up here. I can play it
up.
down
Yeah.
there.
It's a show. It's a good show.
Yeah, mirrors.
He's like, we're gonna play this for one song, and I'm putting this down
I
because
think
it
this is
hurts.
gonna catch on.
This is about to break my back.
I wonder how much it weighs.
Well, the next time one of them, no, that's bad.
Be 2 inches
Oh
short,
my
2
God!
inches
Look at
shorter.
there. You can even see one of his nuts is hanging lower than the other one.
He's got to sleep on that thing.
You could sleep on that thing.
God.
It's actually the backboard they're bringing out of an ambulance.
That's the door Rose was on at the end of Titanic. Jack couldn't fit.
Well, if you got a 17-string bass, you got to have like a 23-string guitar
you do.
to go with it.
Oh my goodness.
So this is their tech.
Yeah, he was he was with them all the time anyway. And
That's a big
Yeah,
old
he-
tree stump they made out of that.
he already knew the material and
Yeah,
all that.
Wow.
They didn't miss a date, I don't think, hardly.
right.
I can't. I mean, I favor the 4-string. I mean, the fifth string. I had a 5-string for a little while, and
I never even got the 7-string, man. I'm like, what are you gonna do with
it's just
that?
a low because it's just a low B, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just a low
so-
B on that. And I know with playing bass, because if you play 4 all the time, it took me a bit used to a 5. I had a 5 for a little while. I liked it, but then I just wasn't using it. And of course, I said, Marcel. And then Marcel got it for his studio because he used to have the exact one. And he's like,
He
"Oh,
likes the 5-string.
well, it's tools for him. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he uses it where he needs to use it and whatever. So he's like, man, I was like, please. I was like, if you want this, please. So he took it off my hands.
Well, give us a demonstration of that first thing
The first thing I ever
that
did.
you ever did on
How do I
not
do this?
understanding
not understanding anything. Well,
anything
just
about
be nice
the
enough to
bass
have one
and
here.
kind of
So this is pretty funny.
Show
I'll try
us
to
what
just. I'm not sure if I'm still
what
in the
you
camera. Just you
stumbled
tell me
on.
if I'm doing the right thing or wrong thing here.
Wrong.
Wrong? Is it all wrong? Oh look! Oh, I can actually hear it. So the very first night, it was pretty. So I've got this bass. I don't know what to do with it. And I've plugged it into my, I've plugged it into the stereo, and I'm looking at it, and there's all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only thing that happened was I went, and I was like, oh.
It's like a hammer on.
And it probably sounded about like that. And I was like, well, I can just play this like a piano.
Uh-huh.
And I remember one of the first things I did is I was like, well, if I just kind of go. And I just, first night, and it sounded that sloppy. It was just a mess. So it came out the next day. Toby was like, we're going to practice, because we're 15, 16 years old. So we got to practice because we got to, we might have a gig. So I'd come out. That's what happened. That I came out and I was like, well, can't I just play it like a piano? I think this has got some muting on it, so it's why it sound kind of how it does. But it was just ringing out, and they just kept looking at me like, what did you listen to do that? I'm like, I don't know. It just sounded right, And that was, and they're like, you can't do that. And I was
the rules, man.
I also said, yeah, there's rules. You can't do that. And I was like, well, what do I do? And they're like, just do this, They're like, that's every song we're going to play. I'm like, man, that's, yeah. And I couldn't do that. I mean, I couldn't even do that. I was more like.
But what you stumbled on is actually an advanced technique, isn't it?
Well, maybe. I mean, I didn't know any better. Like I said,
that kind of stuff.
I was 15.
Is done.
I was 15 years old. I might just get this.
Well, like Eddie Van Halen.
Take that off there for just a minute.
Eddie Van Halen did a lot of that with his right hand.
He had. Oh yeah, this is all
Right.
tied up. I'm probably gonna take too much time to do that. I don't want to undo your thing here. But yeah, that, like I said, I got into the. Everything was fast. There was no. I didn't know. I didn't know how to hold a groove. I absolutely didn't know how to hold a groove. So it was just licks. So everything was a tap. Everything, and that's where it all ended up going.
Play some.
And then no, because I don't do it anymore. I'll be honest, I don't do.
You don't do that anymore?
No, I mean, and then there was stuff like that. There were little runs, and you're just trying to copy as best you can, and it was never perfect technique or anything. I mean, I guess it stays, but you can't really do anything with it, and it doesn't even come into the now. If I'm playing, it's like they're just it's just single notes. So and it's. If anything, they're like, man, we need you to speed up. You slowed down so much through the years. I'm like, yeah, but it's less you play. They're like, yeah, but you got to play something. I'm like, I'm just going to play this whole song and sit out. But yeah, first night, it was just, they're like, you can't do that. All right, I can't do that. So it started off, and Ryan Lim, I'd give a shout. Ryan's always getting on to me. Because I get a little bit self-deprecating and I get on myself a little bit. So Ryan, it started when I was 15. I don't know where the camera. It started when I was 15. That's where it started. I was already told you can't do that. So I was like, okay, sorry, I can't do that. So that's what was always said. But no, that was how it started. It's a boring story, but it's.
Well, you got to start somewhere. My desire was, like I say, senior year. So I was 17 and. Billy Ray Herrin was my next door neighbor, and we were in the same class. And sometimes I'd share a ride home with him.
Yeah.
And we went to his mobile home one afternoon, and he said, "Oh, you want to play the bass? Well, I'll teach you the bass for Hey Joe." Jimi Hendrix.
I thought I made it when I learned that. I thought I made it. And
he had a Silvertone electric guitar, 6-string, with just these 4 strings on it.
Oh yeah,
leaning up in the corner of his room. For some reason, the E and the B, the high strings, had broke or whatever reason. And he said, "Here, this is just like a bass."
This is the only strings you get.
This is the only strings you need to know about.
That's
And dun 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 dun.
when that got played, I was like, "Ooh, I gotta learn that." You know, you gotta walk that. And
Yeah, I think that was
like,
the first cool bass
that
line
was
that I remember.
that was
knowing.
the first. Yeah, that was the first cool one I'd ever heard. And then I did like Hendrix, and you know, it was always Voodoo Child, and you know, playing songs, or you think you can play them at least. You know, Voodoo Child was easy because it's, you know, basically in one chord. But then I remember I kind of went off into the Hendrix that no one listened to. So, you know, kind of go off on that. So, because when I remember I tried to play Axis Boldest Love, I was like, I'm never going to get that. You know, because I couldn't pick it and stuff like that. But then it turned into like Dolly Dagger and Remember, the songs that no one plays. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Freedom.
Yeah, they were just so good, such good songs. But it was always, I was trying to find out, like, but then I'd get into that for a little bit because you're new. You don't know. I'm listening to everybody else, what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, so what do I listen to? And I'd already liked Van Halen, and I'd already liked Michael Jackson, and I'd already kind of liked that stuff. And then, you know, you grow up listening to Molly Hatchet and Skinner and Allman Brothers and Blackfoot. We all, you know, kind of grew up listening to that here. And I was like, yeah, that's where it's at. And no, it was all hair metal. That's what everybody wanted to play. It's like, oh, we got to play some Warrant songs and we got to play some Tesla. You know, that first night, I think we were talking about that one. I'm reaching all around the microphone here. I might move it for just a second, just if that's all right. This was always the first, I think I remember. That was the night that Daddy said your feet were absolutely nailed to the floor, because that's the first gig I ever played. The first song was the bass line, and I didn't like the spotlight. I knew right then. I was like, and I just looked away from everybody. I was like, please let me get through this. You know, being young. So, and the rest was history.
Let's pull up some Marcel and
oh
Rick,
man,
you know,
yeah, some of my,
because we said that's what we were going to look at when we took a break.
real big influence. Whether Marcel likes to say it or not, and I know
Research.
So Marcel Yamuni. So just a good YouTube. Now he's got 2 albums
How do you
out.
spell that?
Yeah, no one's hearing that. So Yamuni is Y-A. Yeah, Yamuni. Y-A-M-M. Yep. M-M-O-U-N-I. So now, yeah, Marcel's he's a great friend. He's got a studio, produces a couple albums out, and it's great. I always say this, and we always laugh. And so one of the drummer we love, our good friend Mark Grom, who I haven't mentioned, apologies, Mark, is Mark, Rick, Ryan, Marcel. We'll all kind of, when we're in lockdown, we go get a practice booth and play. And
musicians in isolation.
yeah, I mean, there's probably quite a bit of stuff on YouTube you can find on him. Not too much stuff, but quite a bit. And Mark always said, and if we wanted to do it in a gig, and we did it once, we played a little gig. It was just fun. It's not, you know, it's a little pub in Australia. We asked Marcel to play every instrument that night, and he did. And he's better than everyone on everyone's instrument. Yeah. So this is Marcel.
So early on in the piece, you know what I mean? I know so many people have lost a lot of gigs, tours.
He doesn't sound like he's from Brantley County.
Overseas
No,
travel.
he's not from
He
Brandon.
doesn't sound like Paul Lee.
We just got to hang in there, I guess.
Looks
I
like
mean,
Paul.
Kind of does look like Paul, actually, doesn't he? He kind of does.
it's
look
important that we, you know, for health reasons, obviously, that we kind of stop this pandemic. You know? But
We got a
yeah,
buddy
it's
named
going to hurt
Paul.
us along the way. But yeah, I don't really know much more other than we've got to just hang in there, really. I mean, there's, you know, find other ways if you can teach, great. You might have to do Skype lessons. Obviously, all the schools are kind of shut and all that. But yeah, hang in there. That's probably the only. Yeah, it's pretty obvious, but yeah. I've lost a bunch of gigs. I do a bit of touring with a guy
play
named
on
Michael
this?
Dixon, and we do a lot of
What's that?
Does he play on this?
conferences. He's a keynote
Probably
speaker
not.
as well
I'm
as a
not sure, to be
musician,
honest.
And we sort of talk
It's
about
just like a
creativity
question and answer thing.
He might play a
workplace
little
and
bit.
how to
I mean,
kind of go about it and all that. And
Marcel's
it's a
not a
great
big
thing, but
show-off
all our
guy or
gigs
anything.
have been canned because
I thought he was
can't have
a
more than
bass player.
X
Well, he
amount of
does it
people.
all.
Yeah,
He's,
yeah.
he's originally,
Conference.
from my understanding, he's originally a bass player. But if you hear his guitar playing, it's
Okay.
just, he's an absolute, yeah.
I want to hear him play.
Yeah, he's, I mean, he's got two
I've heard him
albums.
play. I mean,
Yeah,
you,
two
you send me
albums
you
out.
send me stuff all the time, but I just want to.
I mean, maybe
for the
one
show.
of the things I tell you, there's one I really like, and it goes back probably 11 or so years ago. Is that he played a gig at a place called the Evelyn, and it was the song he did was "Brush with the Blues" by Jeff Beck, and he covered it.
Is that it?
And it's on YouTube, and it got recorded, and the light and shade in the song that's what I feel like I love that now. And Marcel, he's known for, well, to me, he's known for, if you want to build something, you get Marcel. So look, it's a bit of a man crush, I'm not gonna lie. But have a listen to this. And the band's amazing. And by the way, that's a 1965 or 66 Super Reverb sitting over there.
Cool.
Not a reissue either. Eric Trucks has played through that.
Really?
Yeah, he loaned it to him when he came to Australia.
Yeah.
But we all fanboy about Marcel, not just me.
Is he kind of the ringleader of that whole circle?
Well, no,
Not really?
there's a lot of guys out there. I mean, look, I think he is, but I'm very biased. It's just this is his life. This is what he does. These are just gigs, but the stuff he does, producing and things like that, are amazing. And when he gets to the solo, I'll just say this: my favorite lick is the very first one he does. It's very quiet. It's this. That. Here's the build. then this, and then just right back in.
It's called dynamics.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I guess I credit Marcel with a lot. I do, but I credit my friends Rick and Ryan with a lot as well, because they've taught me a ton since I've been there. I mean, I can watch Marcel all day.
Mhm.
He lives 5 minutes from me, around the corner, and like I said, it's an absolute pleasure to have him as a friend first and foremost,
Yeah.
and the family. But boy, I tell you what, there's some perks to sit there and listen to him play. You know, and he's influenced by his brother.
Have you ever showed him Josh Kirkland?
Oh yeah. Well, here's the thing about all of that is that, I mean, because Marcel in the music industry and all those things, you know, it's like Marcel appreciates. He's like, yeah, man, what a gunslinger, you know, and he's a gunslinger himself. And there's other people, but you know, it's just he's listened to so much music and so many people out there. It's funny because Mars has even said, he's like, I just don't want to listen to music anymore. I just don't want to listen. I'll just, you know, I think I don't know what's the next step. Marcel's trying to figure out how to transcend the whole thing. He's not weird and flipped out there, but his albums, you can see the difference in his playing and things that he does and puts together. But it's not about speed for Mars. You know, he does some albums and what people want to hear, or what he thinks people want to hear, and stuff he wrote a long time ago. But he's just more of a, to me, he's taking the time to sit down and go like, hey, so what are you listening to? What are you doing? What's going on? And when I made that change and started listening to a bit more R&B and, you know, D'Angelo Voodoo album, I go back to that a lot, and the Roots and things, is that he's like, yeah, man, Pinot. Oh, if you're gonna, just stay there. Just stay there. You know, he's like, listen to more, but stay there. So I stayed there and listened to it, and it pulled a lot back, you know, instead of ripping licks and all this stuff. It's just, you realize you can make one note sound amazing, you know, it's all about the intent, but it's also all about the note you don't play that'll make someone turn like, oh, wait, wow. So, and I've learned a lot from him on that as well. So, and Rick as well, Ryan as well. But look, to be honest, and we all fanboy over Marcel anyway. I know I'm talking a lot about him, but he's a major influence. He is. He's a major influence. I'm very lucky. I'm very, very lucky. So,
Heck yeah, man.
Well, folks, we're at the point of the podcast to which it's time for a little story.
oh yes, I've been waiting on this.
And this particular one is
The day
Let's
Uncle
see.
Dave went to jail.
it takes place in 1977 when you were 3 and you were 4.
And my brother was born.
Or wait a minute, you were
I'm 74.
okay. You were 3 and Ken was 4.
And another 12 years when I was born.
Is it 12 years
12 more
before
years.
Mr. Justin Mercer was even
Thought about it.
on the planet? But he came out turned up.
He turned up, turned up.
Turn up, turn
He
up,
showed
burn,
up, turned up.
turn up, burn up.
Well, Merry Christmas to all who are watching or listening. This is just one of many holiday memories from the mind of Uncle Dave Griffin. And as my disclaimer says, it might not be very merry, but it is a vivid memory. I've owned a lot of vehicles since crawling behind the wheel legally, and a great many of them have been vans. Initially, I was attracted to them because they were the flagship automobile of the counterculture, although I was about as far from the counterculture as you could get growing up in South Georgia. My first van was a red and white Volkswagen bus, and this is a horrible picture, but that's the back end of it. I don't know why I didn't take more pictures in those days, but I flipped it, you know, conversion van and everything, turned it into a
Love Palace.
The love bus.
I had the Tico 8-track tape player from Pick and Save in the glove compartment.
Pick and Save. I was talking about
And
that
there you
today.
see the speakers mounted on the back of the front seats.
You mean headboard?
Well, actually, I took both of the back seats out completely,
was
threw
that?
shag carpet down on the bottom, took all the panels off of the walls, and cut Luan paneling, and replaced all the paneling on the walls with pink and white paneling, pink and white shag carpet.
Look at them curtains.
Mama tie-dyed the curtains for me that hung all the way around the van.
Screaming, pull me over.
Please pull me over.
We made a bed that folded off of the motor cover in the back, so I was set.
It was warm.
I didn't have a daggum girlfriend at the time, so it was just
She was
that.
ready.
You was ready though.
She was ready. You got the batter's box for that thing.
This red and white Volkswagen bus, before I tricked it out, belonged to my brother Gary, who was transferred to Cornwall, England with the Air Force, and he left the van behind for me to continue making payments on. But I ended up selling it to a friend in 1973 and was carless for about a year until Billy Ray Herrin and I formed Sweetbriar.
You changed your name to Carlos?
Carless.
I think he painted his toenails red for that too.
The Waycross, Georgia's first country rock band.
Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
I wouldn't want to run into y'all in a
Where's
damn
that
town.
picture? Where's that picture taken?
If I was
On,
walking through the
on
woods and
Dog
I
Hill,
if I was
right
walking through
behind Billy Ray's
Right
house.
behind Billy Ray's house?
Yeah.
If I was walking through the woods and I ran across you guys, I'd turn around.
Boy, I would turn around. Boy, you got a pretty mouth.
I start hearing banjos.
Boy, you got a pretty mouth.
We was clueless. Oh, let's see.
Thought it was Connor.
It was vital to have a van as a working musician to haul amps, guitars, PAs, and if you're lucky, a pretty girl. It took a minute, but I did find a pretty girl whose brother happened to be selling his tan and white VW van.
Oh, man.
Perfect. I removed the back benches, and it was ideal for the equipment to ride. That one kept me mobile for a couple years and finally died the death crossing over the Trout River Bridge on Lim Turner Road in Jacksonville, Florida, as I was heading to Sonny's Lake Forest Lounge for a week-long gig with the Down Home Band and Eddie Middleton. The untimely demise of the Volkswagen in 1976 led me to a used yellow Ford cargo van with an inside motor cover that only latched down on the passenger side, scalding my bare legs in summer with excess heat from the engine. By that time, several of the guys in Down Home were driving vans, trucks, and station wagons, an ample armada of hauling capacity, so I sold Old Yeller and rode with the others. November of 77, after having worked as a full-time musician for 2 years, I bought myself a brand new gunmetal blue Dodge van from Ed Thomas Motors in Waycross. Ed was a big, genuine bespectacled man and made me a good deal.
What?
That's a
He
big
was a
word.
what?
That's an $8 word.
It was a
down.
big, good-natured man with glasses.
English, Doc.
And he made me a good deal. So I drove it for about a
You had a
month.
vasectomy?
Well, no, but the van did. I drove it for about a month, and then the rear axle transmission gave out with a huge heave. The new car smell hadn't even wore off yet, and I was stranded again. Ed apologized up and down as it was hauled in for repairs on the very day I had to get myself to the Jacksonville Beach Coliseum to play a State Farm Insurance Christmas party. I explained my plight,
Can't make this up.
and Ed told me I could have anything I wanted on the used lot out front. My eyes immediately set upon a big, dark blue Cadillac. Says I to Ed, that's the one I want.
Look at that right there now.
Says Ed to me, well, that's the one you're getting. Down home band with Eddie Middleton. Had enjoyed a busy and successful year in 77. The gigs paid well and they were plentiful. Valdosta, Macon, Savannah, Columbus, Augusta, Panama City Beach, Tallahassee, Little Rock, Chattanooga, and Nashville. We were all over the place. Eddie had talked himself into a record deal with Cleveland International and was poised to take his career to the next level. Can you blow that up a little bit? That's Cleveland International. You see, it's a subsidiary of the Epic record label. So It was a big-time thing. Matter of fact, the first artist they had signed to their label was Meatloaf. And they were down in, they had one of the A&R guys down in Macon when we were playing up there, trying to sign Dickie Betts' band after Allman Brothers broke up. It was Great Southern. And we all ended up partying together. That's a whole nother story I think we've read on here before. But Eddie Middleton ended up talking the A&R guy that was down there to sign Dickie Betts into signing him, all in that one night in my motel room.
Wow.
How good is that?
There was two bands that was partying like hell, and one of them was Dickie Betts.
Dang.
Oh, we got tore up. Eddie Middleton did all the booking for our group and had us playing, huh?
He must have been a talker to
He was a talker.
talk
He
himself in there and
I mean, I'm telling you, Eddie,
Dickie out.
this was the beauty of it. Eddie was our front man in this band. And we were, 76, 77. Now, I had only been playing for a few years, officially playing in bands. And so I was a real novice. He was an accomplished front man.
Yep.
I seen him in places we'd play, just walk out there, and strangers, everybody. We were just strangers to everybody, and he'd walk out there in the middle of Little Rock, Arkansas or something, have them eaten out of his hand in about 5 minutes. He was just, he knew what he was doing. He was a big time. All right, so Eddie did all the booking for our group and had us playing for State Farm's big Christmas dance in the Beach Coliseum. Big venue, big night, big times. Big time, Bill. And I showed up in a car equal to it all. It was a Cadillac. We were set up at one end of the cavernous round building playing funk music in matching dark blue pinstripe jumpsuits.
Oh, man, look at this now. Look at them bell bottoms.
That were flare-legged and zipped up from the crotch to the collar.
Oh, man.
Now, not every State Farm insurance agent in the state of Florida was hip to the Ohio Players and Earth, Wind, and Fire, the Commodores. So, like insurance companies are wont to do, they settled on two different groups for their holiday party. At the opposite end of the Coliseum was a jazz polka band. opposite to us in the music they played and the clothing they wore.
Oh, my goodness.
When we took a break, they strike up their band.
Jazz polka?
To use another phrase familiar in the insurance business, it was easy money for the boys in down home that night. We didn't have to play near as much, and which led to us getting a little tore up because a friend of ours came up from Waycross with some
little bit of
stuff.
Yeah.
And I was walking around back when we were loading up. I wasn't doing much loading at all.
You was unloading.
I had the old spaghetti legs and was holding on to the nearest column.
You was doing a Griffin shuffle.
Yeah, it's a Griffin.
Right,
Yeah, I was about to say Griffin
The
shuffle.
old Griffin shuffle. And anyhow, we partied hard. And when the night came to an end, loaded our equipment in everybody's van but mine. I lit out the Waycross in that Cadillac on US 1 North and made it as far as Folkestone when all the excitement of the night before finally caught up with me. Easing the caddy into a motel parking lot situated in the triangle where US 1 splits into Highway 301 and 23, I found an empty parking space, laid down in the front seat, and fell asleep. Early next morning, the South Georgia sun beat through the Cadillac windows. I slowly cracked open my eyes to see two elderly motel patrons, husband and wife, probably from Maryland, preparing to head on down to sunny Florida for the holidays. They were staring in at me as if I might be dead. What they saw was a guitar player with flies buzzing around last night's beer-crusted saliva at the corners of my lips, wearing a blue pinstripe jumpsuit zipped down from the collar to the crotch.
Oh, my God.
Hey, and like I said in the disclaimer before, it might not be very merry, but it was a vivid memory.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm sure they remembered it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're probably dead now, but
Feeling that.
it's Gladys. Check on him. Harry.
I think that's Kenny Loggins. Is he
I think
dead?
that's Kenny Loggins. Wait, I think it's Kenny Rogers.
Oh,
Second
my
edition.
goodness.
His zipper's
that
all
was-
the way down.
That was the year right there, too. That was about
That's funny.
77.
You still got them? You still
Oh,
got that?
no,
that's
I don't
a
have
one,
that
That's
outfit.
a onesie.
Wonder what in the hell happened to those outfits.
I think
but I
you should
wish
get one
Connor had
made.
it.
I
know.
kept
Connor should get one of those.
I kept two items from those days. One was a
But
faded glory. We had outfits with these faded glory things. Mine was peach colored. It was a vest and pant ensemble.
Ensemble.
And it was, I kept that vest. I think I still got that. And some black crushed velvet pants.
Well, you know, they probably made them
And
crushed
my
velvet
dog-
pants.
black crushed
My
velvet
daughter
pants.
wore those in high school.
Well, the crushed velvet pants was made from them curtains that where they were playing that first gig. That was up. It's like, I think we
Yeah,
should,
the king of the
we
road.
should pants out of them curtains.
That's right. You need to ask your mama, or you ask her, Sean. She's next door to you. If she ever went to the king of the road in
His mom?
Valdosta. Yeah,
Or my mama.
yeah. Right?
Well, probably no.
No, you said you lived there. You said y'all lived there in Valdosta.
Oh, I will ask
In
her.
77.
That. Yeah, 77 we would live there. Oh, that's a good question to ask.
Yeah, ask
that's,
her.
That's
Ask her, did she go out to the king of the road? And when she says, oh, we love that place.
Dave
say,
could be your daddy.
Dave might be my daddy. Dave actually might.
He wasn't
No.
born there.
Well, Dave, it's one of those questions like Dave's like, I'm not old enough to be your daddy, but I'm old enough to be your stepdaddy.
if she says, yeah, we loved it. Then say, you remember Eddie Middleton and Down Home?
Who?
Oh, yeah. God bless Jesse.
There it is. Hey, how about that? How about that? They ain't heard that in forever.
All right, folks. Well, we're going to sign off now. Want to thank our guest all the way from Australia and Brantley County.
Yeah. I want to
In
thank
Ware
y'all.
County,
Yeah, we tried to
Ware
do this.
County.
We tried to do
in
this.
Jamestown.
Yeah, Jamestown. Shout out to Jamestown.
Our good
Shout out
buddy.
to the old Waycona boys.
Good buddy.
Undefeated 1981 flag football championship. Just like to thank all of us. That's right.
Shout out to Toby Harris, who we mentioned earlier. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah, we
I could
covered
go
some.
through
his friends.
so many.
We covered some good ground on this.
Toby taught me guitar. We need to have Toby on, Toby.
Yeah, you should get Toby on here.
Ty Manning, another
What? Oh, Ty.
Another,
Yeah. Oh.
who's now living back home again in
love Ty.
Brantley County.
Ty, I got a quick Ty story really fast.
Okay.
Ty was in, I think, the 10th or 11th grade. Yes, Miss Meeks is a teacher. I was across the hall in Miss Hammond's class, and we heard this guitar playing. And we all stood up to look over. And if you get Ty on, maybe Ty will tell the story better, but from my understanding, Ty didn't want to do a book report, but he said, I'll play a guitar solo instead. And it was either a guitar solo or a song. And Ty got up and did, and man, it was the greatest thing in the world. Ty got up the front. I think he had a white Kramer or something like that. He used to have his old white guitar and was playing in there, and good old Ty with that big smile and everything. And just, I think he might have been singing or just playing. And I think he got an A for doing that instead of doing a book report.
You have to give it up to the teacher.
Oh, Miss Meeks,
You know?
yeah, she was
There
good.
would have been teachers, no nonsense.
Yep.
Like, you're doing a book report
That's it.
and you're going to like it.
I think Ty negotiated his way out of that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Negotiated his way through life.
He has. He has. Ty, we love you, brother. You know we do.
Yep. Well, folks, we want to thank y'all for watching, listening, and reminder always, step on over to patreon.com for our Deep End podcast, which comes out once a month. It's only $5 subscription per month. And it's a little bit different, a little edgier, and we think you'll like it.
Dave takes his shirt off.
What do you get for $20? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, some swag.
Man.
And I want to say a special hello. What's our friend's name in Blackshear? That
don't narrow it down.
no. The girl who's paid Patreon. You know, she came to
Nicole Saxon.
She stopped me at the Porch Fest this past weekend and said, "Where is my Swamp Town Get Down T-shirt?
No.
I sent you the size and the address months ago." And I'm sorry.
Swamp Town Get Down. Where's my
I'm sorry.
Something in the Water
Something in the Water
podcast
T-shirt. See, you get swag and prizes and good gifts if you're a subscriber on Patreon. And
if you are, and if Dave sees the email,
and if I see the email,
then
better for
some.
you. But Nicole, if you're watching this, I'm gonna hand bring that T-shirt to you.
Hand bring it.
That's right. Watch out. Watch out. Thank you all again. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks for having me, guys.
When the cold black water finds its way across through your veins, it just might seal your fate. It just might seal your fate. It just might seal your fate.